your answer? What's the difference between addiction and maybe like a bad habit, or addiction and a behavior that I really get into?
Right. So there's an author, Charlotte Castle, that I like a lot. And she talks a lot about addiction, but specifically with women. And she talks about behaviors being habits, patterns, compulsions, and then addiction. And I
Mhm.
really like that because I think
Can you say those
some,
again?
yeah. So it's habits,
Mhm.
patterns, compulsions, and addiction.
I think that really, I'm thinking neurology, and I don't know what you guys think about this, but for me, that is the continuum of the neurological processes. That this is an occasional behavior, and then on the path of it becoming a coping skill, and then a neurological pathway, and then an addicted pathway. I think there is a difference. So I'm really curious to learn more about this, Gal. But do you guys see that spectrum also when you're sort of assessing?
Yeah, but I think we have to look at, I mean, even slowing it down. What is the difference between addiction and compulsion, right? Like Wendy, for what you were reading, how would you differentiate those two things?
Right. So a compulsion is something that someone does, but they still have control of it. So they can see themselves doing the behavior, and then if they say, "Oh, this is not a good idea," they can stop. Where Castle makes the distinction, and I agree that when it becomes addiction, you can have every intention in the world to stop, and you can't. All of a sudden, you find yourself doing it again. And even though you've put in, so, people who are addicted to porn, even though they put in porn blockers on their phones, even though they have, put the computer in the living room, even though they still find ways, it becomes, they're not even thinking about it anymore. There's not an obvious thought process. It's just the behavior happens. And all of a sudden they find themselves doing what they promised their partners, themselves, that they would never do.